and and I also decided that AIDS was more important, so I shifted. But I'd already done a lot of work in the kind of in that area of sexual health, and I was getting into the sociology of medicine. Indeed, for 1 year I taught a course. Nicky Hart was away, and I taught a course on the sociology of medicine, which got me up to scratch on that literature. So I'd started doing some work on HIV and AIDS, and I did different work. I did cultural work on it, really. So I was in Stony Brook at the time for a while, and I did research on AIDS in New York. And I went to the New York centres and the cathedral. I mean, people were dying like flies. It was a horrendous scene. And I mean, it's the long and the short of it is I did publish quite a few things, but they were popular things. I wrote articles in Gay Times on AIDS in San Francisco, AIDS in New York, and AIDS in London, and A Tale of Three Cities, I think I called the group of them. And then I wrote play reviews, because actually there were a lot of the new culture of AIDS was producing fantastic drama and film, so I got very interested in that. So it was really edging me into cultural studies in an early form. And then from that I wrote one paper which I've always thought was quite a good paper on organising AIDS, but by then of course there's a huge amount of writing on it, so much writing on it that everything got lost. It was a big industry. And then of course Tony Coxon came along to Essex and brought big AIDS research with him. But I had already decided to back out of it all, because very simple, I was crying too much. It really was depressing. Of all the research I've done, it was just unbearable. I sometimes think today I want to do more research in unbearable areas, and I remind myself that I'm no good at unbearable areas. I break down, it's just so awful. And it was. AIDS was, and what is equally awful now is just how shockingly we've forgotten it all. And the gay movement's forgotten it all. And young people don't even know it existed. And, and say that's what those people did, but we can carry on now as we like. And of course, to some extent, because of the new medications, they can carry on as they like, but they should remember that, large numbers of people dying, and it was a graveyard both in San Francisco and in New York. Horrendous. But also an amazingly galvanizing time for the gay movement to suddenly organize itself properly, to start, if you like, growing up to being open to sensible debates and arguments, and not just screaming and shouting. I'm being a bit rude when I say that, because it wasn't like that either. But I mean, there is a standard line that the old gay activists of the 70s sort of threw away their beards and their beads and their caftans and their jeans, and started wearing suits and ties and white shirts to meet the officials to debate AIDS. And I think it's a powerful image, because that is what I saw going on. People who before were all radical could no longer afford to be that radical. They have to be liberal assimilationists to get the money they needed to deal with the terrible epidemic.